All right, Popper 6. The first thing we're going to work on is the grace notes. So to start, I want you to put the grace notes rhythmically as two 30-second notes. So it's going to sound like this. Right? And I want you to practice that in all of the measures where we have a grace note. So the next one will be. Right? Okay, then in measure 9, we have the same thing repeated. And 11. Right? The one that's a little bit trickier is going to be measure 25, where we can't practice it that late because we've got a 16th note right before. So in that case, we're going to practice it in rhythm, but twice as fast. So it'll sound like this. Something like that. And this is going to be the same thing in measure 27, right? And then the rest of them, the same way again. So measure 29, measure 31, measure 37, and 39. 41. Do that again. There we go. 42. And 43. Just like that. Okay, so with the grace notes, you want to make sure that your left hand is completely relaxed. So you can feel in here. If you're not sure if you're relaxed or not, put your bow down. Put mine on the ground for now. And just check out what's going on in your hand, like this. And we want to especially notice if our thumb, there's any tension in our thumb, that's going to make it hard to play the grace notes fast, which we want them to be. So once you're comfortable playing all the measures like this, then what you want to do in order to make the grace notes sound a little bit more free, a little bit more expressive, is we're going to play them faster and closer to the next beat, which in this case is the end of 1. So instead of playing, we're going to play it a little bit later and a little bit faster. Again, very light, especially with the thumb. Thumb has to be light. Okay, the next thing that I want you to work on with this etude is the vibrato, especially in the quarter notes. These quarter notes are so expressive. So we want each quarter note to have a lot of vibrato, and we want to connect the notes with the vibrato as much as we can. So this is a great place to work on that. So let's take the first one, measure 2. It's going to start up bow. Right? And I'm going to practice that in a loop like this. And this is a great time to also work on this string crossing, which is the next challenging part of this etude. Is all of these string crossings we want to be really smooth. So in order to do that, we've got to time the right arm perfectly, where we go to the elbow level of the next string early. So our elbow wants to be in the position, in the D string position in this measure. We want to be in the D string position before we actually play on the D string. Right, so I'm looking right here at my elbow, and I'm seeing where is the best place and time, and where it sounds the smoothest. Okay. And I want you to do that in definitely all the measures with the quarter notes, working on the vibrato and the string crossing at the same time. Measure 6, we don't have a string crossing, so just vibrato. And then in measure 9, is that measure 9, 6, 7, 8? Sorry, measure 8. And notice I'm also practicing with the dynamics from the very beginning. So we've got to do a diminuendo on an up bow. That's challenging, so we got to lighten the bow as we get closer to the frog and have a nice shimmering vibrato on that D. Okay, in the 16th note measures, the measures with the 16th notes, there are some challenging string crossings. So to practice those, first make sure that you're tunneling where possible. And you can practice an open string version. So for example, let's take the first measure. We play on the A string, and then we've got one note on the D string. So I'm going to tunnel that with the left hand for sure. And let's see if I can do it just with tunneling. Right, so I'm trying to put my fourth finger down before I need it there. So while I'm playing the open A, I'm getting the fourth finger down. And if that's difficult for you, practice it slow. Where you go really early. Like that. Now when you play it fast, are you actually tunneling or not? You know, you might not actually be tunneling when you play it fast, but by practicing it this way, you'll get your fourth finger trained to at least be closer to the D string than it would be otherwise. Okay? And then for the string crossing, you can do an open string version, which will sound like this. In the first measure. And then add the left hand. Oops, this is a down bow, isn't it? Okay, the last thing you want to work on in this is the bow distribution. So we never want to run out of bow on any of these measures. If anything, we want to save a little bit of extra bow because a lot of the phrasing sounds nice if the up bow, we actually crescendo into it. So for example, we don't want to do this where we run out of bow. That just sounds backwards to me. So what I want you to do is do the opposite. So we're going to save the bow. So we're going to play, by the time we get to the open A on B2, we're going to be less than halfway through the bow, up around here. What do you guys think of that phrasing? I think it sounds nice, but you could also play it even, which would sound like this. Or crescendoing to the up bows, which will sound like this. Measure 5 is different because we've got a 2-measure crescendo. So here we're going to use an even amount of bow, and then on the up bow, save, and then, so we have a little bit of extra for the second note like this. Let me do that again. So we're going to save. So we have a little extra for the second note in measure 6, which is an F sharp. And that diminuendo that we practiced before. Okay, the last thing I'll mention in this piece is measure 24 and 25. This is a tricky measure, tricky 2 measures, because we have to save a lot of bow. This is the only time in the piece where we have a bow that is longer than 1 measure, right? So it's going to feel, the bow's going to feel really slow when we get there. So in measure 24, you're going to save bow on that F sharp, so don't go past maybe around 1/3 of the bow on that F sharp. So use a nice slow bow at the beginning. That way we have 2/3 of the bow for the next measure, measure 25. So you can practice that by playing only the F sharp and then stopping exactly when you would play D, and see where you are in the bow, like this. Okay, I'm going to try and save even more bow. Something like that. Okay. Next, add the next measure after you stop. So, and then play from here without moving the bow. And see if you have enough bow to make it. Right. Once you can do that, then do it without stopping. I probably need to save a little more bow. Try it again. Something like that. All right, I hope you enjoy working on this beautiful etude, and I'll see you next time.